Guys, here I am in Target, my local Target, right? Check this out. So we're in the boys section, guys, boys clothes section. I want to show you over here. This is the clothing we have for boys. Dinosaurs are cool, right? There's a big rainbow behind the dinosaur. We're not going to stop there. We got a cloud, hula hooping with a rainbow. What's this? Trucks are cool, right? Picking up a rainbow. Why are we picking up a rainbow, guys? Why is this boys clothing today? I'm not done. Like Baby Shark? Bye-bye. There's masculinity. That's what they're doing. They're destroying masculinity. Guys, it's time to stand up against this wokeness. We need to stand up as parents and leaders and fathers. Like and follow for more.
Yo, what's up, Game Changers? Thank you so much for tuning in to another PrimeTime GameChangers podcast. I'm Anthony. It's my guy, Pastor Matt. We have a very special guest today, guys. We are live at Nashville, NRB, Nashville, Tennessee. It has been phenomenal. Dude. The different types of people we've met and just hearing all of the testimonies that God is doing in everyone's lives and how people really are now taking those testimonies and using it as a platform to speak against evil and to also promote and advance God's kingdom. We have another one of those amazing testimonies where we have this special guy who is going to be sharing what God's doing with their platform. And honestly, I'm excited about this. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Gerard White, who is the founder of StandUpNowApparel.com. Check out these hats, by the way.
These are legit,
God
man.
made. We're going to get into this one in a little bit.
I love the line straight down the hat,
There's a story behind that.
We're going to get into this story in a little bit, but StandUpNowApparel.com. Check them out. Their stuff is amazing. Gerard, welcome, man.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate you guys having me on. You know, this was just spirit-led.
Yeah, bro.
To be honest, that's the great thing about NRB is there's so many like-minded people here just connecting for the right purpose. You know, and God's at the center of it. He's leading the way, and just we're connecting. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. We got to jump right into this.
We do.
Let's do it.
So where did it start? How did it just become the brand that it is? I mean, obviously, the video, you got to discuss that. I mean, walking into the Target, everything you're seeing in there.
Yeah.
Just talk about the journey. What inspired you and said, all right, enough of this. I've got to make a stand now. Stand up. I mean, literally.
So originally the whole brand started with just me as a father seeing what's going on in this culture war and making one t-shirt. Just jumping online real quick, needing to design a t-shirt for a family vacation trip we had. You guys remember when Disney World said they were suing the state of Florida and they weren't going to call boys boys and girls girls?
We were covering that, we remember that,
Well, I was just a normal guy with my family, had a vacation trip planned. 5 days later, we had it planned for my daughter's 5th birthday. And I wanted to cancel the trip as a conservative and a man of God, but I also knew that as a father, I couldn't cancel that trip because my 4-year-old daughter wouldn't understand why we didn't go for her birthday. So I was in this situation. You know, what am I supposed to do as a father? And I said, you know what? I'm going to take my daughter because the impact of one more trip to Disney isn't going to make a difference. I'm cutting Disney off after this, but I'm going to also make a t-shirt. I'm going to let my voice be heard. So the thought came to me, God made man and woman. Simple as that. It's the truth, right? What are we? So I jumped online, ordered the t-shirt, Google real quick. Rush Order Tees comes up, I designed the t-shirt right there, and they emailed me back and said they won't make the shirt.
What?
Yeah,
too controversial for them.
Well, I said they said it was
ridiculous.
They said it's inappropriate. They don't want to do it. So anyway, I got the shirt made. Now that one shirt at $30 online, I had to make it locally. I had to get 24. Ended up costing me $400. But still, it was me saying, you know what? It's still worth it. I need to make this statement.
Absolutely.
You know, wore to Disney World. Hundreds of people stopped to take my picture, high-five me. At that chance, it was just a statement, just still a statement. You know, but I realized it was every gender, every ethnicity, every age said, I love your shirt. And I was like, wow, there's something here. There's something here. Leaving the park, I got a tap on my shoulder from a guy in his upper 60s wearing a Marine Corps hat. He said, I love your shirt. Thanks for being strong enough to wear it and saying what needs to be said. Now, I wasn't able to serve in the military. My life journey took me somewhere else, but I respect the military and everything they've done for us, our founding fathers and everything. I thanked him for his service, and then he took 4 steps and got into his wheelchair. And it hit me that we're in the biggest spiritual battle we're ever going to face. And if we don't stand up and stand up now for God and country and put this on our backs and allow God to take the lead, what am I doing as a father, taking my kids to the most magical place on earth, quote unquote, and it's being destroyed and they're living in it, and what am I going to do? And walking to the car, my wife said, wow. I said, do you feel that? I said, that's the spirit right there. And right then and there, I said, I'm starting a brand, putting God front and center. I've never done this before. And literally, God just opens up doors like he does. I came back to the one guy, and he said, I'm too busy to help you. Sounds like you got a fun hobby. And so I learned how to make shirts and design them. And, it was funny how God can use anybody, right? That's how he works. Because I was the guy in art class that drew like a stick figure. I'm horrible with designing things. Art is not my thing. But when it comes to t-shirts, I think I do a pretty good job. They're bold, plain statements, and they're complimented shirts, because we're all called to do that. We're all part of God's army. We might not have served in the military, but we're all part of God's army. And when we unite together and put him in the middle, God does amazing things. And that's what we're called to do as true believers in Christ.
Amen.
Okay, so you jumped in and were like, okay, we got to do this. I don't know anything about making t-shirts or the fashion industry. I'm just going to go in. What's your background?
I was always in sales for the last 12 years in the automotive industry. I also have my real estate license. Before that, I actually was I was incarcerated, man. I was a young 19-year-old that was lost in the world, living for the world, and fell into the drug lifestyle at a very young age of 15 years old, buying and selling drugs, trying to make a living, living on my own. And God hit me with exactly the amount of time I needed for him to work on me and find him, because I didn't have Christ in my life. I didn't have family that believed in that. I had an atheist father, a Jewish mother, and there wasn't really faith in my house. And I was lost, living for the world. So I was in prison for 5 years. That's where God found me. I found God, and we were able to build that core value of life. After that, I dedicated my life to doing the right thing. We got two choices in life. You can allow something to make you bitter or better. I chose the better.
Bro.
That's what we're all called to do. So anyway, I came out. God gave me everything I ever wrote down and asked for in my life when I was in prison. I was in this situation where you're at the low, right? You're actually a slave. You truly are. And it talks about it in the Bible, how even a slave should be to their master and honor them. So I kept that spirit, as amazing as that sounds, in prison, going through and keeping the right attitude in whatever we're going through. So, and really turned into God, and I set these things out that I wanted to accomplish. And God gave me all those things. And literally, I only wrote down a 10-year plan. That's what they tell you to do. Write down a 1 year, 3 year, 5, 10. Well, it was 12 years had passed, and I realized I'm very successful in the career I'm in. I got a beautiful house, beautiful children, all these things. And I realized I never asked for God anymore. And it was at that, and this was 2 years ago. This was 6 months before I started the brand. God is amazing how he will answer a prayer. You'll say a prayer and you don't really know how he'll take that. So I pulled in my driveway in my house, got a beautiful house, beautiful brand new cars, all the worldly things, right? Beautiful wife, love, children. I'm a blessed man. And I said, God, I've never asked for anything more. I ask right now for you to continue to mold me to be the true man I'm called to be. You're the potter and I'm the clay. I said, make me the best father, leader, and husband imaginably. And he answered that when he put this on me. He said, okay, this is something that I know that you believe in. Are you willing to put this on your back and carry your cross for me to know what we're faced with and be a voice in this battle? Because I think God's calling on warriors today.
Yeah. So when you went into Target and you saw all of that stuff and you made that video, what was kind of the responses like at first?
Oh man, so going to that point, so I was 8 months in on the brand. Me and my wife, here we are, we're just going to trip in Target. We walk in there, and this was before the Target boycott. This was before any of that started. We walked in there, and I saw on every boy's clothes there was rainbows on there, and the rainbows didn't have the color blue. If you notice, they don't put that color because that's the purity color. The blue is the color of purity. God gave us the rainbow to signify he'll never flood the earth again, but there's 7 colors in there. The rainbow that they promote is not a biblical rainbow. So people that say, oh, don't be upset, it's not biblical. They have twisting it and confusion, adapting it to their own thing. So anyway, I saw these rainbows on these boys' clothes, and everyone had on it. And I said, I got to make a video about this. Made a short little thing, and I said, look at what's going on. Every single clothes, hula hooping with a rainbow, tractors picking up a rainbow. Why are we doing this? And that went mega viral. MSNBC News decided to pick that up and say that anybody that thinks like I do is the poison of this world. And that Target and Disney know more for what the people want than the people themselves, because they're a big organization and they know. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's just wild, man.
So we're gonna go a little bit more in depth with that Target video, but what I'm noticing is in every single one of our interviews we've had, it seems like each and every person has come to this point in their life where they've been like, God, there's more.
Yeah.
I need you and I know I need you because I believe there's something else that you've called me to do. And you had that moment.
For sure.
And going back to your time in prison, it's interesting you spent 5 years.
Yeah.
So in the Bible, 5 is the number of grace.
I didn't know that.
So there was grace upon your
Oh,
life.
100%.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And it's interesting that God took you out of what you considered a place of bondage, and now you are the very one that he's using to speak against the bondage that is trying to come up across the next generation.
Absolutely.
And I believe that God is using, ladies, we love you. Don't get me wrong. You ladies have been doing awesome, but there is something about what men are starting to do. Men are starting to rise up, and that is biblical.
Yes.
Yeah.
We have been missing this for so long, and you even talked about it in your own household, how there, your dad was atheist.
Yeah.
But look at the generational curse that you have broken.
For sure.
Because
Yes.
you've decided to take a stand. Now let's go back to this video part though, because this is wild.
Yeah.
So you're walking with your wife into
Yeah.
Target, and you're
Yeah.
like, okay, you notice this, which is interesting that you figured this out right away. That
It just,
that the
it's
rainbow.
one of those things that it just hit me. I was walking and I was like, whoa, what is this? And I noticed the price of the clothes. They were like $2 or $3. So they're making it so affordable for these families, for these women, where they think like, oh, it's okay, I can afford it. What's the big deal? But these kids, they see these images and they get attached to it. And they're going after the generation so young that has no idea.
That's it right there. And I got to say that because here's the thing. What they're doing is, look, do we hate rainbows? No. Do we hate gay people? No. We don't agree with them.
Yeah.
We still love them and show them
Absolutely.
Jesus, but we don't agree with them. The problem that I'm having is this gay and transgender movement now has become so toxic. They're infiltrating the minds of the little children
Come on.
now at this
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
They are wanting to affect a future generation.
Yeah,
absolutely.
They are wanting to destroy an anointing on a child. They're wanting to destroy an identity on a child because what is it? With children, their bodies, their brains, everything is still developing in its developmental stage. So of course the enemy wants to infiltrate them and use this absolute ridiculous movement to go after the future generations.
Absolutely.
It's a generational curse, quite frankly, is what they're trying to do. And we have to be the ones, like you mentioned, the fathers standing in the gap. You
Yeah,
mentioned
for
men
sure.
standing in the gap, using our voice.
Yeah.
Well,
and to go, not to cut you off, but to go into that, it takes a strong father, but also as a family unit, that father needs to have a good biblical
Yes.
wife
That's
behind
it,
him.
man.
Because my wife is a beautiful woman and she is able to support me and see these things with me. That's how we're able to continue and do this. And that's what it takes. It takes real women surrendering to men, realizing that he is the leader of the household, that we're called to do this, and knowing that he's not going to mislead the woman.
Yes.
Because
That's
that's what
good.
problem today too. Because
It's a
how many
team.
men
Yeah.
are misleading women? If you look at the Bible, they come together, and that's what they want to remove for giving these children
It is.
drugs and hormones, because most kids would not be able to have kids anymore. So when you take a man and a woman, put them together with God in the center, what he comes from that
Yes.
seed magnifies and glorifies him. They want to talk about this identity. People can change their identity in whichever way. Our true identity is in Christ. And when we know that
There it
and
is.
it lies that, that's where the power lies.
Come
and that's
on.
what they want to take away. They want to say, you can change your identity. Be whoever you want to be, gender fluid, be this, and it's all made up.
It is.
There's two sexes. There's two sexes. They say, oh, there's more than one gender. Gender was a made-up construct in the 1960s. Wasn't even around. Wasn't
Yeah.
even around
Wow.
before that. They came up with that. It wasn't everything.
Yeah.
Wow.
And even
He's
now,
right.
look at when,
Yeah,
we,
he is.
when
He's
we
right.
grew up, when you look at your surveys, sex, male, female, that was
Right,
it.
that was it.
Now they've changed that from sex
They
to
put
gender.
unknown or
They're
rather not say.
Yeah, and now the list is endless.
Literally.
It never changes. And
Yes.
it's absurd that this is what they're pushing on the kids. And it goes deeper, and it's such an early age. You see these big corporations that are putting it in these Netflix series
Yeah,
with
man.
Disney,
Right.
with these young characters where kids, we're all influenced by everything that we're around.
right.
And
Yes.
they're pushing this influence on them and telling them this is normal and acceptable behavior. But what's going to happen to these souls? Because that's what they are. They're souls.
Come on.
They're playing with the souls of everyday people. And when they
Come on.
put that seed upon them, those souls are ruined. But you know what? God saves everybody.
Amen.
So no matter what, there is a time
Come on.
that they are going to be able to see that and understand that acceptance, but they want to give these drugs, they want to mutilate these children, and try to deter them from their true maker, and that's what's horrible.
Oh my gosh. So
Amen.
I just love everything you said because it's true.
Yes.
They're pushing these false narratives to steal the innocence of these children.
Yes,
and
Anthony.
how much longer do we have to stand by and see another life ruined. We're seeing all of these different reports about how there's so many people that switch genders and now are regretting it, but now they can't go back.
Correct.
They're not telling people, they're only promoting like this is the solution, but not talking about the after effects.
Yeah. They're
not talking about the side effects. They're not talking about the regret that people have after these decisions are made.
Yeah.
And so, I just love what you're doing, what the brand stands for, and it's just amazing to me that a men and women's restroom sign, which is obvious, would start such an uproar.
Such an uproar, such a controversy, And to think it's so simple. It's such a simple, basic truth, that they want to try to confuse and divide people over. And that's really what they're doing, is they're trying to divide us and attach these things to whatever. And it's crazy, but that's why we have to do whatever we can do. Wherever you are, you see this truth, you have to speak out about it, stand firm on the word, and know what the word is. A lot of people have never opened up the Bible. They never looked for it themselves.
Right.
They don't know the word. And they think, who am I? Or I've done these one things, and will God still accept me or love me? That's because they don't know the word. He does. True. And he gives you that seed of forgiveness, and that's really the key.
So how did your life change after you became viral on MSNBC?
Oh, my life is completely different now than what it was 2 years ago. I mean, 2 years ago, you told me I was doing that. I told you you're nuts, not only having a brand, but, when you got, Tim Pool and MSNBC and all these people talking about you, it grows. But then people don't understand the true message behind, because you know how much hate I got from that video. I mean, that video went mega viral. I mean, Reddit. I had people, like, literally, I was in the store with my wife, and you could see people just looking,
Really?
But there
the
were,
guy.
But there were death threats. There are so many people that are so toxic, and their mind doesn't even realize what's going on in the world. Then they're like, oh, you're war daddy in the sky. I mean, just evil stuff.
Oh,
that people that even would say that comment don't know what Christ is, So my life today is completely different, but I'm blessed that God has led me on this path and has anointed the things and the connections that he continues to unfold and unpack. And has it been an easy road? No, for sure not. But nothing good is easy.
Come on.
Nothing good comes easy.
Come on.
Yeah. What's crazy is, man, we live in this world, and Anthony, you and I were just talking about this, we live in this politically correct world now.
Yeah.
Like, you got to be politically correct, and it's nuts, but it's but we don't want to preach truth, but we have to be politically correct.
Yep.
Yeah.
Let's lie, let's have fake news,
Yep.
but let's always make sure we remember to be politically correct. And then it's so funny because, Anthony, we were talking about this in school. What were we raised being told to do? Cite your sources.
Yeah.
Always cite your sources.
That's
Don't
right.
plagiarize.
Correct.
Tell the truth.
Yep.
Make sure when you do your homework, it's your words, it's your work. And now we live in this world where it's like, let's just forget all of this on mainstream media now.
Yep.
But yet they're training people. I did communications. That was my major. They trained you literally. I will fail you if you plagiarize. If you do not cite your sources, I will literally, okay, you're doing math or something like that. Let us know how you got to the answer. Don't just write the answer.
Yeah.
And it's like we now live in this world where we have forgotten all these rules. It's like once you get up to where you're supposed to be, it's like, let's just be politically correct and not offend anybody.
Yeah.
And forget truth. It's
For sure.
we're being raised, and now they're not even putting that in school anymore now as well. I mean, they're taking the Pledge of Allegiance out of schools.
Yeah.
They're teaching nonsense, and they would rather show kids pornography and sex in schools than teach them the literal ways of how to be a American, and not even just that, a human being that is under God. I mean, you can't even bring a Bible in some schools now.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw something about somebody, they weren't going to give them, let them graduate college because, this person brought a school to a college final, or a Bible to a school college final. Come
crazy.
on, you know what I'm saying?
Well, they want to
it's just
remove
nuts.
God in every
Everything.
way possible. Prayer was taken out. Most schools, like you said, don't do the Pledge of Allegiance of the more, and it's horrible that it went. But you can see in society when they remove God, when you remove the presence of God and the moral teachings of that, what happens to society? Look at where we're living in. We're living in chaos. We're living with people that are lost, that are confused. And I'm not saying, look, there's me, I'm a Christian, right?
Yeah.
I know where my faith and my salvation lies. It's in Jesus Christ. But there's many people that maybe their God is a different thing. Like, look at Vivek Ramaswamy. I'm using him as an example, right? He's Hindu, right? his moral compasses and teachings are very similar to ours. Now, does this say that Vivek is always going to be a Hindu? Maybe he's not. Maybe God is working on him. Maybe the true God is guiding him on this path of where he's doing. But does he have a moral compass? Do the morals still the same? Yes, they absolutely do. And that's the difference that they want to remove, because God in his presence gives people morals and values.
That's so true.
And I just have a problem when they're allowing other religions to come into these schools, but notice they always find a way to hate on the cross.
Absolutely.
And the Jesus thing and the God thing. It's like, you can bring a Quran that can come into the schools. You can read those.
Yep.
We can talk about those. But hey, if you mention Jesus or bring a holy Bible into schools, it's crazy. It's like, let's just put them in the cabinets of hotel rooms, but we're not allowed to bring them into our SAT and ACT when we finish the test early.
Yeah,
I have a problem with that, man.
No, well said. No, you're 100% spot on.
So,
well, yeah, and it's like, especially when they talk about being inclusive, right? So we want to be inclusive of
please
everything
go,
except when it comes to Jesus.
Yes.
Correct.
And there's no coincidence in that, because we all know that Jesus is going to be about truth. We want to talk about the love part, but what does the Bible say? Love and truth.
Yes.
And Jesus is a standard that we have to continue to amplify our voices about, because like you said, without that truth, without that standard, without that moral compass, things just turn into chaos. Now my question is, with your childhood upbringing, I'm going to go back to that. How did you encounter Jesus? Like, what was your first encounter where you were like, okay, this Jesus thing is real?
So like I said, my parents were divorced at 5 years old. My mother married an atheist. So my true father, I didn't know at the time. I didn't even see my father for 13 years.
Wow.
He's a Christian.
He is.
So
Okay.
he was that generational that had been praying for me, even though we weren't together and connected.
Wow.
Where that lied. So going back to that. So anyway, my first connection was when I was in prison. It wasn't even county jail. County jail, I picked up the Bible. I was actually fighting my case. There was some, bunch of legal things tied around that. So I fought my case for a while in there. But it wasn't until I was in prison where I really got to dive into the Word and know the Word and know that relationship with God and the forgiveness. I had to forgive. I had a lot of things inside of me towards my mother, with mental health, all the things.
It
the
goes
reasons
back to
why
bitterness
I had
and
to,
better.
I had to, all the things, all the bad things.
Yeah.
I had to get rid of those
Interesting,
seeds.
yeah.
I had to forgive. And when I truly forgave, that's when I felt the salvation of Jesus, that he forgave me, that I wasn't held on to that. And my first real encounter, so I was 8 months left in prison. And I got put on work release. I did good enough where I could go to work release. So I was able out in the community, but you just come back to prison every night, what it was. So I was there for 3 weeks, and I started having a pain in my side. I went to the hospital. Turns out I had stage 4 leukemia.
Wow.
Diagnosed with stage 4 leukemia,
Oh,
8 months left in prison after doing 4.5 years almost, laying in the hospital bed. And I was like, God, why? Why are you doing this? Right at the time I'm coming through here, why am I diagnosed with cancer? They were giving me all these blood transfusions and this and that. I remember my body shaking uncontrollably. The nurses had to stop doing the treatment. I lay in the bed and my body's shaking, and a peace came over me like I never had in my life. And God spoke to me and he says, I've never let any harm come to you. Trust the process. You don't have cancer. Trust the process. And when I woke up, I had this overwhelming calm about me, and miracles just started to happen from that. And now I'm 5 years cancer free. Something the doctor said I was never going to be. No medicine, completely cancer free. They said I would never have kids. I got 2 beautiful kids. Everything they said I wouldn't happen, God gave me that, because I never let that seed take root. I never let the factor of the doctor saying you have cancer, these things, you're going to be limited. That limited mindset that they're trying to teach kids today, they're not going to let that limited mindset play into me. So I just never let that seed take root. And I think there's power in that in today, of not letting these evil seeds that are being sowed take root. Because what does it say where a seed falls?
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's how. And I was a little long-winded there, so
I
I
love
like
it,
that.
man. I love it. Rant on. I love it.
I wanted to find out where how your first encounter. But thank you for clarifying about your real father and everything. That is, what I'm blown away by is this isn't the first time we've heard about the power of forgiveness. But if you look at the sequence of your life and how that worked out, so you forgave while you were in prison.
Yep.
Then came the diagnosis.
Yep.
But then came the healing as a result.
For sure.
I fully believe that because you forgave and the
100%.
forgiveness had cleared your heart, that's where that allowed
Yep.
God to bring that miraculous
Yep.
healing, and that's just amazing.
Yeah.
Stage 4. I mean, any doctor is going to say you're done.
Oh, I'm done. Yeah, my spleen was about to rupture. They were like, how did you get here? I walked because I was in prison. I didn't have a car. I had to take this bus, and I walked, and they were like shocked because my blood was so thick that my spleen was going to rupture. I was to that point,
Goodness.
you know?
And just out of nowhere, healing took place in your body. Once you healed yourself from the bitterness and said, I'm going to become better.
Correct.
That's when, boom, the hand of God moved in your life.
Absolutely.
It's almost like not even only a healing, though, but now a preparation for what you're living and stepping
Exactly.
into and doing now and in the future. It's crazy, man. That is so powerful.
That's the Spirit of God, and you're absolutely right. And it took me a while to see that. You know, a year ago, after we talked about that Target video, if you asked me to share my testimony like I just did today, I couldn't have done it. God hadn't prepared me enough to really see all the blessings and everything along the way, and He reveals that over time. So some people that dive into the Word, they say, I don't get it. Give it time, because God takes time. If we look at the stories about David or Joseph, any of the stories in the Bible, it wasn't instantaneous. It was time. God takes time to work on your soul, you know, and that's what I would say. So.
Well, you said something very key too, Gerard. When the Lord was speaking to you, you said, what? Trust the process.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times that we as Christians have a hard time with going along and trusting what God has already laid out for our lives. Why? Because we fear the unknown.
Yep.
But what is faith? Faith is being obedient to the unknown because God said so.
Yep.
And you're a living proof of that, and that's just amazing. I also see the fact that, you went into prison a certain way and you came out a completely different man.
Yeah.
And how many times does the Bible talk about us sacrificing or laying down our lives, crucifying ourselves so we can come?
Sure.
Why? So the new man can come about. And then look what happened just a short time after.
Yeah.
There's no coincidence to that. It's just amazing.
No, and looking back, like I said in the hospital bed, I said, well, God, why? Looking at my life right now, I don't have to ask that why. That's what God can do. He can remove the why in your life. Because right now I know why I went through everything and exactly I did, because that's what Jesus can do. He removes the why and He sets you on a path where you're serving Him and honoring Him, and that's the why.
And then it turns into a what and how can I do? What can I do? How can I serve your kingdom today?
Absolutely.
Because now you understand where you're living and where you're walking in.
Absolutely.
Amen. Anthony, go ahead and close this out. I know we just got a little bit of time here, but amazing, man.
I actually want to have him back, right, for a part 2.
Yes,
I feel that there's something that you have, man, to share with the people.
You got to.
Do you feel comfortable with praying for the people?
Absolutely. I do it on the end of my show. I do it every time. I love
Go
it.
ahead, man.
So our next episode, we're gonna get into praying for the
sure.
people.
Yes.
So make sure to tune in for part 2. This is with Gerard White, who is the founder of Stand Up Now. Apparel.com. Make sure to check it out. Also,
Get some merch.
watch us soon. We'll be coming back with part 2, the Game Changers, PrimeTime GameChangers. We'll be back with you for part 2 soon, so make sure to check us out. We love you. Bye-bye.